Good afternoon. I'm Robert White, Council Member at Large and Chair of the Committee on Housing. Today is Thursday, October 31st, 2024, and we are meeting in room 412 of the Johnny Wilson Building. The time is now 12:02 p.m., and I'm calling to order this public roundtable. The purpose of this roundtable is to consider several appointment resolutions proposed by the mayor, including PR 25-866, the Commission on Reentry and Returning Citizen Affairs, James Berry Jr. Confirmation Resolution of 2024, PR 25-867, the Commission on Reentry and Returning Citizen Affairs, Kanetta Callaway Confirmation Resolution of 2024, PR 25-868, the Commission on Reentry and Returning Citizens Affairs, James T. Dunn Confirmation Resolution of 2024, PR 25-870, the Commission on Reentry and Returning Citizen Affairs, Maurice Tyree Confirmation Resolution of 2024, PR 25-872, the Commission on Reentry and Returning Citizen Affairs, Ricardo W. Shepard Confirmation Resolution of 2024, and PR 25-958, the Board of Directors of the District of Columbia Housing Finance Agency, Johannes Fuller Confirmation Resolution of 2024. The first five measures today focus on the Commission on Reentry and Returning Citizens Affairs. This commission advises the mayor, council, and the director of the Office of Returning Citizens Affairs about reintegrating returning citizens and supporting residents currently incarcerated. The commission is also legally required to submit a report after the end of each fiscal year that includes a summary of recommendations on the commission, budget breakdown, and legislative priorities for the following year. While we have not regularly received that report as required, our reentry legislation and strategy has been informed for years now by the perspectives of the commission. Through their representation, commission members help our returning residents rebuild their lives and strengthen our community for everyone. The commission is required by law to have 15 public voting members appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. However, only 6 of these positions are currently filled due to previous issues with vacancies and absenteeism. To address this, the commission now requires prospective members to attend 3 meetings before taking on leadership roles, which promotes greater engagement and consistency. The commission also includes 13 non-voting ex officio members from various DC agencies, but only 2 agencies, the Department of Employment Services and the Office of Human Rights, have actively participated. Consistent and fully staffed meetings are essential for the commission to effectively advocate for returning citizens and make strong recommendations. Our first measure today, PR 25-866, would reappoint Mr. James Berry Jr. to the commission as a public voting member for a term to end August 4th, 2026. Mr. Berry Jr. has extensive experience in justice and rehabilitation services in Washington, D.C. From 2014 to 2022, he served as Deputy Director of the Court Services and Offender Supervision Agency for D.C., where he oversaw agency operations and managed a team of over 850 staff to support offender supervision and reentry. Previously, he led the Community Defender Division at the D.C. Public Defender Service, where he oversaw programs focused on community reentry and juvenile services. Licensed as a professional counselor and clinical social worker, Mr. Berry Jr. also holds multiple civic and advisory roles related to public safety and community engagement. Next, we have PR 25-867, which would reappoint Ms. Kanetta Callaway as a public voting member of the commission for a term to end August 4th, 2026. Ms. Callaway is an experienced professional with over 30 years in federal government service, specializing in budget, leadership development, and resource management. She currently serves as the founder and executive director of Broken Chains Incorporated, a nonprofit focused on community support. Previously, she held the role of lead senior budget analyst for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Office of Pesticide Programs, overseeing a over $300 million budget and leading a team of 20 certified fund officers. With certifications as a facilitator and coach, Ms. Callaway brings expertise in customer service, contracts management, and human resources. Third, we have PR 25-868, which nominates James T. Dunn as a public member for a term to end August 4th, 2027. Mr. Dunn brings over a decade of experience in community development, outreach, and financial literacy education. He is an expert in the financial markets and leads classes on stock investing, mutual funds, and income generation through dividend stocks. As lead outreach specialist for the National Association for the Advancement of Returning Citizens, he supports at-risk individuals in managing conflicts, reducing violence, and fostering behavioral change. Previously, at Father Factor Incorporated, he mentored at-risk youth involved in or affected by gun violence. He holds multiple certificates, including conflict management and financial literacy. Fourth, we have PR 25-870. This measure would appoint Mr. Maurice Tyree to the commission as a public voting member with a term to end August 4th, 2027. Mr. Tyree currently works at ABM Industrial for George Washington University and serves as a Cohort 23 scholar in the Prison to Professional P2P program, which supports formerly incarcerated individuals in building sustainable careers. Previously, he held roles in the U.S. Bureau of Prisons Unicorps program, including quality inspector and equipment operator. Mr. Tyree is also the author of The Darkest Part of My Blackness, Faith, Family, and Freedom, and is actively developing his organization, Manhood 360 LLC, which focuses on holistic wellness for Black men. His work emphasizes mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical health. The fifth measure for the commission is PR 25-872, which nominates Reverend Ricardo W. Shepard for a term to end August 4th, 2027. Reverend Shepard serves as rector at the Episcopal Church of the Atonement in D.C., where he provides pastoral care, oversees church administration, and prepares congregants for sacraments. As the former prison partnership coordinator for Hudson River Presbytery, Reverend Shepard developed and managed strategic programming across 89 churches to support individuals impacted by the justice system. In this role, he guided churches in assisting returning citizens, recruited volunteers for prison and reentry programs, and co-organized New York's first reentry conference. His experience includes fostering collaboration with faith organizations and service providers to enhance support for returning citizens. Our final resolution today relates to the Board of Directors of the District of Columbia Housing Finance Agency. The DC Housing Finance Agency, or DCHFA, was created in 1979 to help provide affordable housing for people in Washington, D.C. As an independent agency, DCHFA works to support building, fixing, and keeping affordable rental and homeownership options through bond financing and programs like DC Open Doors, HPAP, and REMIT. DCHFA is overseen by its board of directors. The board's work helps DCHFA meet the city's housing needs. The board has 5 members chosen by the mayor and approved by the council. They set rules, review funding plans, and make sure the agency is meeting its goals. By law, 2 board members must have experience in mortgage lending and finance, 2 must have experience in building, real estate, architecture, or planning, and 1 must represent community or consumer interests. PR 25-958 would appoint Johannes Fuller to the board as a representative of community or consumer interests with a term to end June 28, 2025. Mr. Fuller is a seasoned real estate and finance executive dedicated to affordable housing and community development in Washington, D.C. As the founder of Adnikra Solutions Incorporated, he provides real estate advisory services with a focus on inclusive communities. Previously, he served as Chief Operating Officer at the Department of General Services, where he oversaw asset management, construction, and facilities management, advancing key projects through public-private partnerships. Mr. Fuller has previously served as board trustee at Paul Public Charter School and board member of the African American Real Estate Professionals of D.C. He holds a Bachelor of Science from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute and an MBA from Cornell University. We're now going to call up public witnesses. We have posted a witness list to the council's hearing management system website, which you should have received from my staff ahead of this hearing. If you're a registered witness and are here in the room, please listen closely for your name. If you indicated that you plan to participate virtually but are here in person instead, please let my team know at the side of the dais over there. For witnesses joining over Zoom, when I call your name, the committee staff will promote you from attendee to panelist. You'll see a pop-up on your screen and you'll need to accept the promotion to join the panel. You'll drop out of the Zoom momentarily and will come back on as a panelist. Public witnesses will have 4 minutes to testify. Advisory neighborhood commissioners will have 5 minutes. As a final note, if you see me or my team looking down during your testimony, it's typical because we often take notes. And my team is also managing Zoom as part of this hearing. I always want to let folks know I'm not ignoring. I'm actually trying to keep track of everything you say. And I want to make sure you know we are listening to you in your testimony today. So I'll start with our one panel of public witnesses. Chairman Robert Vincent Branham, Ward 5 Leadership Council, Public Safety Committee. Andrew Anderson with People for Fairness Coalition. Patrice Lancaster. And Terry Torian. Chairman Branham, you may be the only public witness here. But if others join before we wrap up public witnesses, we will recognize them. You do not get their time. As Mr. Fuller knows, we make a day out of our hearing. No, but hopefully not today. Hopefully not today. And you can begin your testimony when you're ready.
Greetings and salutations, Mr. Chairman. I am here to testify and to be a witness for the Honorable James D. Berry, Jr. History tells the story of Diogenes. Diogenes lived in a barrel and wandered through ancient Greece. Diogenes carried a lantern searching for an honest man. It is recorded one day Alexander the Great rode down to visit Diogenes in his barrel and offered Diogenes any gift of his choice. With a scowl, Diogenes snapped back, "What you have taken away, you can never give me." Was the reply from Alexander the Great. Diogenes replied, "You're standing in my sun." Jim is an honest man and does not block anyone's light from the sun. To further paraphrase Diogenes, Jim is someone who says what he means, doesn't steal, doesn't lie, respects and honors the personal and professional responsibilities to society. I know Jim. I have served with him as an advisory neighborhood commissioner, and I have served with him on the 5th District Citizen Advisory Council and on the MPD Citizen Advisory Council. We have dined together with our wives. Jim is a friend of mine. There are few people who have championed justice, been a defender of equality, and spoken more boldly on civil rights within the criminal justice atmosphere than Jim Berry. The American and district criminal justice systems rest on the premise of holding persons accountable for their violations of law, and upon adjudication and sentence served, they are recognized as having paid their debts to society, meriting re-entry into the community. Jim Berry, through prior positions with the Court Services and Offender Supervision Agency, possesses the work experience, record of community activism, understanding of public safety, the goal of preventing crime, efforts at reducing recidivism, values programs supporting the fair administration of justice, and understands results come best when done in collaboration with the community. Jim Berry remembered this task, and it is his testimony. There are several words to describe Jim, and they transcend the legalese toward the spiritual. Jim is experienced, a leader, faithful, and most importantly, Jim has been called to duty to share his knowledge of justice. Jim is anchored in principles and someone residents of the district and those tied by circumstance can trust. At the end of time, when the master calls the roll call of honor of those who accepted the mission, at the end of time, when the Creator does the roll call of giants who are not afraid of the gospel and serving others, the name James D. Berry Jr. will be proclaimed among the first of the righteous, not because of the alphabet of his last name, but rather because of how he lived. James D. Berry Jr. can be called by many names, but the name I feel most honored to call him is friend. Mr. Chairman, I close as I began. James D. Berry is an honest man. So too is Kamala Harris. I urge all district voters to vote for Kamala Harris and to vote no on Initiative 83. Today is Halloween. Do not be afraid. And I urge residents across the city to reelect you to your position. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your testimony. If I was James Berry, I wouldn't even say anything else because I feel like it can only go downhill from there. Um, but I do appreciate your testimony. I don't know all the nominees or maybe even most of the nominees that come across the committee, but I do know James Berry. So your testimony makes sense to me. I think he's done really good work on the commission. He's been consistent. He's been present. Even as he juggles other things. So I don't have any questions. One question. I don't think I had processed that you two served together as ANC commissioners. What did you see about Mr. Berry's leadership or service that struck you and makes you think he will continue to be a good member of the Commission on Reentry and Returning Citizens Affairs?
One effective thing that I know about Jim is that he is structured. He understands procedures and understands that others with whom he may disagree deserve an opportunity to speak and to be heard. And he's willing to extend his hand to allow others, even if they may disagree with him, to present their arguments and to ensure that others do not restrict the views of those with whom they disagree. I have seen some people in some situations try to attack him, but he keeps his composure. He remains settled and he remains professional. And another word that I will use that he is respectful. He is respectful of the words and concerns of others, but he will not be disrespected.
That resonates with me. I think for some time now, we've increasingly been in an environment, not just locally, but very much nationally, where we often don't listen to each other. And none of us grow from that, where I think, disagreements turn very quickly personal and venomous when they don't. And so that is an important leadership characteristic, being able to hear others, listen to others, and even disagree with others civilly. So I appreciate that. Chairman Branham, thank you for being with us and for your testimony. I'm now going to call up our nominees to the Commission on Reentry and Returning Citizens Affairs. Mr. James Berry Jr., Ms. Conetta Calloway, Mr. James T. Dunn, Mr. Maurice Tyree, and Reverend Ricardo W. Shepard. So I'll ask that you come to this table here. Mr. Berry is with us virtually. And we'll go, well, let me actually first swear you all in. So I'm going to ask that you all raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to provide to the Committee on Housing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We swear in all of our government witnesses in this committee, so I appreciate it. So it'll be Mr. Berry, Ms. Calloway, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Tyree, and Reverend Shepherd. That's the order we'll go in. We'll start with you, Mr. Berry. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Councilmember White, members of the Committee on Housing, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Berry, and I'm a resident of Ward 4. I appear before you this afternoon to seek your support for my reappointment as a public member to the Commission on Reentry and Returning Citizens Affairs. I would like to begin by thanking Mayor Muriel Bowser for nominating me for this appointment and the Council Committee on Housing for considering my nomination. And in light of Chairman Branham's remarks, I'd like to thank him for his always generous assessment of my leadership. He has been a leader in this city of extraordinary rank, and I treasure his friendship. The reasons that I desire to serve on the commission are many. First, the District of Columbia is the city of my birth. I've lived here for all of my life, and in that time, I've had many family members, friends, and neighbors who have had contact with our local criminal justice system. I am one who believes in the ability of people to change. I'm also one who believes in second chances. Further, the District of Columbia, in my view, has an obligation to meaningfully and substantively assist returning citizens who are attempting to rehabilitate themselves by helping them to redirect their energies toward social productivity, and where necessary, by helping them to repair and rebuild their lives. In this regard, I believe entities like the Commission and the Mayor's Office of Returning Citizens Affairs can and should play a central role in the process of transformation for returning citizens. Indeed, it is also my belief that the agencies of the District of Columbia government, whose leaders have ex officio membership on the Commission, possess the wherewithal to make a difference in the lives of returning citizens in our city by targeting a reasonable portion of resources to help these citizens meet their stabilization and other needs. Second, I would like to continue to assist the Commission in attaining the goals it sets for itself. For example, voting rights for incarcerated persons continue to be a high topic of interest and activism in the returning citizen community. In addition, working to strengthen and promote effective enforcement of the Ban the Box legislation has been a consistent priority goal for the group. Promoting career development opportunities and workforce incentive programs for returning citizens also continues to be a major goal. Further, expanding the number of support and other programs available for the children of incarcerated parents, as well as to women returnees, continues to be regarded as essential. Finally, advocating for the return and strengthening of adult and vocational programming in our local public schools is still seen as a must. As you know, the Commission works closely and cooperatively in support of initiatives advanced by MORCA. And of course, it strongly encourages the city agencies who have ex officio representation on the Commission to develop and implement reentry projects and programs in their respective organizations. I'm particularly interested in MORCA's overarching goal of creating pathways to the middle class for returning citizens. Indeed, as a city, we should strongly encourage these citizens to actively participate in every aspect of the District of Columbia's civic and social lives, and like others, they should be able to fully enjoy the many benefits of doing so. Third, I'm confident that my civic, educational, and professional backgrounds continue to make me a good candidate for membership on the Commission. I've long supported the reentry movement in the District of Columbia. For example, I sat on the executive committee of the Council for Court Excellence for more than a decade. And through that involvement, I was an active participant in the initial effort to change the record sealing laws in our city. I also served on the board of directors of the Alliance of Concerned Men for several years. I served 2 terms on the board of directors of the former Visitor Services Center, now known as Voices for a Second Chance. And I was one of the founding members of an organization which became the city's reentry task force. I possess a Bachelor of Arts degree in criminal justice and a Master of Arts degree in counseling. I am licensed as a professional counselor and as an independent clinical social worker in the District of Columbia. I made substantial use of my educational background and my clinical skills in my role as a sentencing specialist for the at the Public Defender Service for the District of Columbia for many years. And for 12 years, I was the chief of the Community Defender Division of the PDS, where I had senior management responsibility for its community reentry, institutional, and juvenile services programming. In fact, while at the PDS, my division produced the first of a series of reentry and expungement summits ever held in the District of Columbia for DC Code offenders. I've worked in the District of Columbia's criminal justice system for all of my professional life. From 2014 to 2022, I served as the Deputy Director of the Court Services and Offender Supervision Agency. At CSOSA, we made a host of supportive services available to returning citizens under our supervision through a client-centered continuum of care. In addition, we work closely and cooperatively with the U.S. Bureau of Prisons to facilitate the return of DC residents from the correctional to the community setting. Shortly before I retired from CSOSA, we sought and received permission from the U.S. Office of Personnel Management to hire as many as 5 returning citizens for temporary appointments in a peer support initiative that we were piloting, which, among other benefits, essentially meant they would be able to list a period of federal government service on their resumes as they were being considered for jobs in the future. If confirmed, I believe the combination of my civic involvements, my educational background, and my professional experiences across the years makes me a good candidate for return to the commission. In closing, I would like to again thank Mayor Bowser for nominating me for this important appointment. I would like to thank you, Councilmember White, and the members of the Committee on Housing in advance for what I hope will be a favorable consideration of my nomination. I'm available to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Berry. Kanetta Calloway, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman White. Good afternoon, Chairman White and members of the Committee on Housing. I am Kanetta Calloway, and I am honored to receive your consideration for nomination to serve on the Commission on Reentry and Returning Affairs, Citizens Affairs. I'm a native Washingtonian, and I've lived in the District of Columbia all my life. I currently reside in Ward 7 in the Fort Davis neighborhood, where I've lived, for the past 30 years. I grew up in the city in the late 60s and early 70s and have seen many lives affected by the criminal justice system. I know personally the impact the criminal justice system has on a family when a loved one is incarcerated. I received my undergraduate degree from Strayer University in Computer Information Systems in 2004 while working and managing a family as a single parent. In January 2021, I retired from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency after 38 years of service as a lead senior budget analyst, where I led and oversaw the execution of over $300 million annually. I have served in various leadership and management positions, and my most rewarding job has been helping others reach their professional and personal goals. In addition, I have also served as a trustee for my former church, as a recording secretary for the EPA William D. Barber chapter of Blacks in Government, as a union representative, and as a diversity and inclusion liaison, and previously served as a commissioner on the Reentry and Returning Citizens Affairs from August 2023 and 2022 and 2023, also serving on the subcommittee for a budget. After retirement, my plans were to travel the world, but the COVID-19 pandemic gave me time to rethink my plans. I then began to reflect on the effects of becoming a single parent when my then husband became incarcerated in 1995. It was a very difficult time, particularly on my children, who had to deal with the reality of not having their father in their lives. The support of church, family, and friends were pivotal in helping us cope during these difficult times. In 2020, I founded Broken Chains, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that helps facilitate the successful reentry of citizens back into society after being released from prison. Studies show that for most people, recidivism occurs within the first 3 years of release, and rates are higher among men. In 2014, our family faced providing support to a family member who was released from prison. we quickly realized how vitally important family support is to the success of citizens' reentry back to society. After much research, we discovered that many inmates are released back into society with no support of family or friends and are faced with becoming homeless and even reincarceration. It is vitally important for returning citizens to have resources and support and a support system in which they can rely on. Broken Chain's mission is to help increase access to information to educate and empower returning citizens in DC while removing barriers to vital resources. It is also our mission to help reduce recidivism and increase the rate of success among our returning citizens. Housing and employment are among the most critical needs citizens face upon returning to society. In an effort to help meet those needs, we have developed several programs through our Welcome Home program. We provide every citizen with a new Welcome Home backpack filled with toiletries and information on vital resources and services throughout the city. We also host free virtual and in-person financial empowerment workshops every spring and fall to help educate returning citizens on saving, banking, money management, credit scores, and reports. In addition, we also host sessions on resume writing, effective communication, and time management. As part of our Fresh Start program, we have partnered with Morca and host monthly free clothing giveaways to our returning citizens, which consists of professional and casual men and women clothing to help provide appropriate wear for job interviews and everyday life. Study shows when you look good, you feel good. Since our inception, we have served over 500 returning citizens through direct contact or by referrals from Catholic Charities, Morca, Fairview Halfway House, Voices of America, C. Sosa Reentry and Sanction Center, NARC DC, and Free Minds Book Club. If I'm appointed to this commission, I will continue to advocate for DC's returning citizens to help create new or change existing laws to remove barriers to expediting access to safe and affordable housing, and expungement and reconciling, which are amongst those things that meaningfully inhibit a returning citizen from becoming fully restored and empowered in DC. Thank you, Chairman White, for the opportunity to testify before this committee, and Mayor Muriel Bowser for the nomination. I will be happy to respond to questions from you and the members of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Mr. Dunn, welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairman White, members of the Committee on Housing, and my fellow nominees. I am honored to be here today as a nominee for appointment to the Commission on Reentry and Returning Citizen Affairs. I want to extend my sincere gratitude for the opportunity to share my journey and my vision for how we can strengthen pathways for returning citizens in Washington, D.C. My story is one of transformation and resilience. Born and raised in Washington, D.C., I have experienced firsthand many of the challenges that returning citizens face today. I understand deeply how difficult it can be to rebuild one's life after involvement with the justice system, to navigate the barriers that prevent access to stable employment, financial security, and personal fulfillment. My journey through these obstacles has not only shaped who I am, but has ignited in me a commitment to ensure others have the opportunity they need to succeed. During my time of incarceration, I made a choice to turn my life around. Over the past 20 years, I have studied the stock market alongside a seasoned stock analyst, dedicating myself to mastering the world of finance. I read everything I could get my hands on, practiced rigorously, and ultimately became a skilled options trader and educator. Through this journey, I gained a deep understanding of the financial markets, as I knew these tools could be life-changing, not just for me, but for others in my community. Since then, I have shared this knowledge to open doors to wealth for many, empowering individuals from backgrounds like mine to build a more secure financial future. I founded Serve and Save to expand this mission of financial empowerment, and it has grown into a multifaceted venture that includes both financial literacy and logistics and transportation services. Through Serve and Save, we provide essential logistics solutions while also delivering financial literacy training that empowers individuals to take control of their financial future. In addition to this work, I am the proud founder of From the Streets to Wall Street program, a financial literacy initiative designed to serve DC youth, particularly those from underserved communities, to the world of investing and financial management. Thanks to the support of generous donors and grants, these young participants not only receive education, but also seed funding to open their first mutual fund accounts. As part of the program, all youth visit Wall Street, where they engage with financial professionals at the heart of the industry. One of the highlights is the mentorship they receive from Yusuf Kassim, a native Washingtonian and partner at the largest equity firm in the world. His story of rising from poverty to prosperity, combined with their firsthand exposure to Wall Street, provides these young people with an inspiring vision of their own potential. Watching these young minds grasp financial concepts and begin to see themselves as future investors has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. The program has become a beacon of hope, showing that no matter where you come from, you have the power to transform your life. My commitment to public service extends further. I am currently a restorative justice consultant for the Office of Attorney General, where I support initiatives that promote healing and reconciliation within our community. Additionally, as a Congressman John Lewis Fellow, I was honored to advocate strongly for returning citizens, amplifying policies that support their reentry and success. I am also deeply involved with Free Minds Book Club, where I provide peer support for returning citizens. Through Free Minds, I offer ongoing mentorship and guidance, helping individuals navigate the challenging path of reentry and rediscover their voices and ambitions through literature and community support. My personal journey of growth, self-improvement, and unwavering commitment to lifting up those around me has led me here today. With a strong desire to serve on the Commission on Reentry and Returning Citizens, I believe that every returning citizen deserves a second chance, not just at survival, but at a life of dignity, security, and potential. My goal is to bring a holistic approach to the Commission's work, expanding access to quality workforce development programs, providing meaningful and sustainable career opportunities, and equipping individuals nearing release with the skills and resources needed for a successful reentry. Together, I am confident that we can create a more inclusive and equitable Washington, D.C., where returning citizens are not seen by their past, but are empowered to contribute fully to their communities. I'm deeply committed to this mission of the Commission and to the ongoing work of reducing recidivism by opening doors to financial independence, stable employment, and lasting opportunity. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to answering any questions you may have to hopefully joining you in this important work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your testimony. Mr. Tyree, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson and members of the committee. I am Maurice Tyree, and it's my pleasure to receive your consideration for my nomination to serve on the commission. I am grateful to Mayor Muriel E. Bowser for nominating me to serve on the commission and honored to have this opportunity to serve the residents of our district in this role. I am a formerly incarcerated District of Columbia resident. After serving 20 years, I was released on July the 12th, 2021. Thereafter, I've earned a certificate in the General Education Development Program of Washington, D.C., known also as the GED. I am an alum of From Prison Cells to PhD, founded by formerly incarcerated Dr. Stanley Adrees, assistant professor in the Department of Physiology and Biophysics at Howard University College of Medicine. I have also been a participant in the District of Columbia Department of Employment Services Project Empowerment Program and authored a book entitled The Darkest Part of My Blackness, A Journey of Remorse, Reform, Reconciliation, and Revolution, published by Live Places Publishing. And lastly, I am currently employed by ABM Industries at George Washington University as a custodian. My life's personal and professional relevance to this committee lies within the example of my pre-incarceration, incarceration, and post-incarceration transitions. Throughout these transitions, I have felt firsthand the mental, physical, emotional, and financial burdens which inevitably accompany such transitional endeavors. The fact is, after I returned back to society, my support system was the key component to my continued achievements. In particular, the unwavering love from my then friend and now wife, Kimberly, the distinguished social services, support from the staff at the Mayor's Office for Returning Citizen Affairs, the unprecedented mentorship program made available to me by Dr. Stanley Idris's P2P program, and also the much-needed job readiness training workshops offered by the Department of Employment Services Project Empowerment. As an ancient Zulu proverb states, a person is a person because of people. It is on account of these people's belief in me and the volunteering of their expertise and personhood on my behalf that makes me want to join the commission to help alleviate the difficult plight of others undergoing reentry. Moving forward, as a dedicated and disciplined person with a proven record of reliability and responsibility, I am committed to continuous growth with what has been working well for this commission. I plan to bring my strong work ethic, teamwork skills, and drive for an empathetic standpoint. My personal initiatives are humbly in the areas of mental wellness and mentorship, from a person-centered and cognitive style learning intelligence perspective. Thank you again for your consideration of my nomination.
Thanks for your testimony, for being with us. And finally on this panel, Reverend Shepherd, welcome.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank this committee for holding this hearing and Mayor Bowser for the nomination. I currently serve as director of the Episcopal Church of the Atonement, located in East Capitol Street, Southeast DC, where I've been for the last 5 years. I also reside in Southeast DC. One of the things that is a large part of my ministry is working with returning citizens. I've had the privilege of working with the Mayor's Office of Returning Citizens Affairs in many capacities, whether in hosting forums at the church, supplying clothing, welcome home toiletry bags, providing book bags for back to school, toys at Christmas, or just being a mentor to a returning citizen. I am committed to this work. I have served 9.5 years in the United States Marine Corps, and upon returning home to Brooklyn, New York, a series of bad choices that I made landed me in prison in 1994. I am grateful that the years spent in prison did not make me bitter, but made me better. I eventually went to college where I earned my Bachelor of Arts degree with a concentration in social science and attended Princeton Theological Seminary where I received my Master's of Divinity. I'm committed to assisting those who themselves have made bad choices to find paths to being wholesome citizens in society. As a returning citizen, I am aware of some of the barriers faced when re-entering into community, and I am committed to working to break down those barriers. I believe that it is important that there are those that can speak on behalf of returning citizens. My commitment to this work, my passion and willingness to work collaboratively with all to create comprehensive solutions make me an ideal candidate. My ability to communicate effectively with diverse groups, facilitating understanding and cooperation among various stakeholders, in conjunction with my leadership skills gained over time, will assist in moving the commission forward. If confirmed on this board, I would like to spend some time focusing on families of the incarcerated and returning citizens. For example, looking at legislation that may improve family reunification. It has been proven that family support is a key factor in successful reentry and can help avoid homelessness and recidivism. Housing is an issue when returning to society. Looking at ways to remove the barriers that stop the returning citizen from living with family members and loved ones who receive vouchers is one initiative that I would spearhead. Another would be to look at the opportunities to fund family reunification, support groups. These groups would allow families and loved ones to stay active and engaged while preparing for their loved ones' return. These support groups help with the sharing of pertinent information, such as resources available to them and to their children. If confirmed, I hope to work collaboratively with the Mayor's Office of Returning Citizens Affairs, organizations that work to legislatively improve the lives of returning citizens and their families and the community. I have not served on the board previously, however, I am aware of some of the legislation that the board has been instrumental in putting forward. For example, the right to vote for DC residents and returning citizens, ban the box, and support for returning women citizens. Again, I thank this committee for holding this hearing and Mayor Bowser for the nomination.
Thank you very much to all of our nominees. I want to say something. I realize I'm preparing for this hearing confirmed today with these testimonies. This is a very high caliber of nominees. I'm really impressed and excited. And let me put a but next to that and then explain why, because it'll be a challenge to you. Often people, and I think all of us are subject to this, are excited about an opportunity, whether we pursue it or somebody presents it to us. And then we get the opportunity and very quickly the excitement wears off and it just becomes a thing, a title that we have that we don't use to move these issues forward. With your personal and professional experiences, with your perspectives, I think you all could help us, the city, do some really exciting things. And there's an opportunity to do that. When I got elected to the council, I talked more about it then, I talk less about it now. As I was studying for the bar and starting my career as a lawyer, my brother, who's only 15 months older than me, we're incredibly close, was incarcerated. And, I saw the family impact, the impact that it had on me and my family, but he also had kids. And so my dad and I stepped in during that time. So as I was studying for the bar, every weekend I was up and down the road to Petersburg to make sure that family connection stayed there. I did not like what I saw with respect to reentry in my brother's experience, and decided that if I was ever in a position to do something to help there, that I would. And so when I ran for office, I told people this is one of my priorities. And working with returning citizens right after I got elected to set an agenda, the agenda from them. What are the most frequent hurdles that we can do something about? And within a year, maybe a year and a half, and Sean Hilgendorf is the one that really got all this over the finish line, we created free ID and birth certificate programs for folks coming home, free transportation. We created housing vouchers specifically for returning citizens. Not nearly enough, but some is better than none. We expanded the Office of Returning Citizens Affairs. I think we tripled the size of the office. And then, because of the work and advocacy of the commission that you all are nominated for, that's where the idea of restoring voting rights came from. I just followed their lead. I got the pleasure to introduce the bill. They brought the idea. And DC today is the only jurisdiction in the nation to restore voting rights to incarcerated people, the only one. Folks who never should have lost that right to begin with. That was because of your predecessors on this board. It is not a secret. I've not been as happy with the commission or the agency in recent years. That's not the fault of any one or two people. But I want to make sure we get back to a place where we are highly productive on an issue that is important in a city that will support it, and with a chair with a lot of power in this space to get some things done. But the things have to really come from you. You know best what the community needs, the issue of workforce development, family unification, vocational education, the impacts today on parent or children of incarcerated parents. We need you on this. We are ready to play our part I'm ready to play my part, but I need you to make sure you are impactful on the commission, which means as Mr. Branham testified, you got to be able to disagree with some people sometimes, and it doesn't mean you don't like them, right? Like disagree with me, we could still be cool. I'll disagree with you. I think we are at our best if we can both agree and disagree with folks in order to get the best results. So I challenge you as you go down the nomination process to think about all the things you want to do, to hold on to it, and to do your part to make sure we get it done, and hold me accountable as well, because I'm telling you I'm going to do my part. So hold me accountable as well. But I am excited about this panel of nominees. So let me start with some questions for all of you, and then I have a few questions for you individually. And I will reiterate, Mr. Berry has been on the commission. I've been very impressed with his work and participation. And I want to thank you for that, Mr. Berry. You've just been instrumental in, I think, being an example for the commission. So let me start with our new nominees. How do you plan to engage with the community to make sure their voices are heard and issues rise to the top in the commission's work? Yes.
Thank you. For me, one of the major points is being present in the community. Part of being a rector pastor of a church that's right there in Ward 7, I'm not only there, I live there. I walk back and forth. I have conversations. I listen. When things happen, I'm present. People come and say, hey, did you know? Did you hear? Did you find out? So I think, first of all, is building relationships. Is being physically present and talking to and not only taking in, but saying, bringing back what you hear and saying, okay, what can we do about this? All right, so for me, it's relational. It's being present and it's showing up and not being afraid to say, hey, and folks know me in my community. I'll tell you in a minute, you were wrong. Mm-hmm. But when something's wrong, I'll have no problem having your back and making sure we figure out a way to get it done.
Thank you.
Well, for me, I have a direct pulse on returning citizens because of the peer support program I'm a part of through Free Minds. These individuals are strictly individuals who are returning home from prison. And it's hundreds of them. So I hear the complaints. I know of some of the barriers that they face. And in the role that I had as the John Lewis Fellow, I did a lot of advocacy work pertaining to some of the legislation that directly impacted them. So I'm always getting phone calls. I'm always showing up. I'm always interacting with returning citizens, hundreds of them. So like, I know some of the barriers that they face. And I feel like I can bring this to the commission, and we can try to address some of these things to try to find a solution to them.
And Mr. Tyree.
Yes, forgive me, Chairman. Can you pose the question again?
Yep, no problem at all. How do you plan to engage with the community to make sure their voices are heard in the commission's work?
Well, I think first thing is we have to look at making it a community again. It's because this is the problem. The word community is, to my view, it's the problem. We have to make it a community, opposed to turn these neighborhoods into what they need to evolve into. So, and that requires a consensus with the people. You talk, you listen, and then you find out how do you bring these pieces together, and then we can make this a community. Because other than that, and that requires more than me just sitting here saying what we need. It's a consensusship that will have to tell me what we need after that. That's just my view, and yeah, that's it.
I appreciate it. Now, let me turn to Ms. Calloway and Mr. Berry, returning nominees. We often hear about some challenges that returning citizens face. So one thing I think I hear more commonly now is the distance of our halfway house, which is still in Baltimore, which is a shame. We should be back by now. The lack of access to housing or employment. In your view and in your experience, what are the most significant challenges for returning citizens that the commission should prioritize now?
Thank you, Chairman White. From my experience dealing directly with our returning citizens, most of them come with a lot of frustration that they, one, as you said, still located in Baltimore and Voices of America. They're basically separated from the ability to even access family support. They are basically restricted on their movement and travel back and forth into the city to be able to go to those offices where they can basically apply for temporary housing to be able to get their IDs and things like that. But a lot of, I think, the frustration is that even when they're able to be released, being able to find suitable housing, transitional housing, a lot of them have resulted to being able to live with family and friends. However, a large percent of them don't have that resource available to them and rely on either shelters or having to go to transitional housing that are available. I have to say that it's been very frustrating for me as I've tried to find temporary housing as well. We have a listing, and there's also a database that we can tap into to find housing. Unfortunately, when we do reach out, some of them are already filled. Therefore, leading them back to having to either extend their time at the halfway house or and I try to be as honest and as encouraging as possible to that we're working as hard as we can to help find those resources and for them not to be discouraged, because I don't want to see them out on the street or resorting to other measures out of desperation. But I think in terms of what we can do, as you said, the vouchers, thank God that they are available because they're desperately needed. I think we can perhaps look into ways we can either get more or expand our resources in even commercial housing to find, I know there are a lot of these high-rise buildings and things that are here in the DC that are vacant. Perhaps we can look at other resources that may be available to them, but that seems to be the biggest challenges for them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berry.
Yeah, I agree. I think housing and housing in general and the location of the only kind of halfway house centers are available to our returning citizens is a huge issue. I also think that the transition from the correctional setting to the community setting is a difficult one just in general for a whole host of reasons. And I think that we have to, in addition to housing, in addition to the challenges with respect to the halfway house, we have to deal with the basic issue of helping people to adjust to that transition and helping them and seeing them in the context of their families and not just individually, and understanding the adjustments that have to be made in order for them to be successful. For example, a number of persons in our system who come back from prison are disabled. They have challenges that are very different than the typical person. And I'm not so sure that we are as sensitive and as concentrated our attention on focusing on their supportive needs as we could be. In addition to women, there's an expectation of women who come back from prison that is somewhat different, or many women that is somewhat different than men. If they have children, for example, the expectation is that they should take on that responsibility immediately upon their return. And a lot of times, if they've been gone for a long time and families are fatigued at the additional responsibility, before they've even had a chance to exhale, the expectation is that they should you know, immediately get back in that child's life, which is reasonable, but also take responsibility for for things that they're not prepared to undertake immediately. And we have to provide support, it seems to me, substantial support to women, especially in that connection. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that we can do. I mean, as you were saying about the halfway house is a huge impediment because of its proximity and the difficulty of being just accessible to the resources that exist in the city. And that's why we need to do more, I think, as a city to, and we use our federal partners with this because we did this at CSOSA, to work with the Bureau of Prisons to uh, make information, other resources available to our citizens while they're in custody so they can understand in advance what services may be available to them and even try to engage in them prior to their release so that, some of the, just the customary and expected and anticipated challenges that one faces aren't as burdensome as they can sometimes be. They're just a whole host of things that we can do as a city, not just as a commission. And it seems to me it's the role of the commission to help the city to understand what those challenges are, to make recommendations as to how those challenges can be met, and to work closely, collaboratively with like Morica and our ex officio folks to direct resources, to direct the appropriate resources to address those issues. I hope that's responsive to your question. I know I talked about a lot of things, but those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I am inclined to agree. And these are complex problems, which is why we've got to be talking about them and eventually developing recommendations. Let me stay with you, Mr. Berry. Well, actually, no, I'm going to come back to that. How can we, Mr. Berry, improve participation by commission members?
That is an interesting challenge. I think that a number of persons over the years have come to the table with there's a natural tension between the advisory role that the commission is mandated to play and the passionate interest of those who join the commission in supporting and even sponsoring direct service activities. And of course, that is the charge of Morca. I mean, we're supposed to, as I understand it, we're supposed to work with Morca closely, advise the director of Morca as to our recommendations, and assist Morca in implementing whatever plans are developed or approved to make those things happen. What tends to happen, though, is that folks will come to the table with passion. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, they come with passion and experience and energy and interest. But that passion isn't satisfied because of the role that we are, because of our role in the system. It's advisory. It's not to provide direct services per se. And although the commission has hosted and sponsored a number of activities of that sort, when we're not consistent, people tend to fall off, because they came with a different level of expectation as to what we could and should do. And they're right; those things should happen, but in a different sequence.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer, and that's a really good point. I tell my students, and somebody else told me this: know your role, right? Like, understand what role you are in and play the best part in that role. To your point, I think, Mr. Berry, let me know if I'm misunderstanding. I wouldn't criticize the commission for doing, let's say, an expungement fair or a community gathering, but the agency, MORCA, can do that more easily. And the commission, when really seizing its an advisory role to say, look, here are the key hurdles, not enough housing vouchers. Here's, restoring voting rights for incarcerated people. That's an advisory role, which is so significant, but not exciting for everybody, right? Because you can meet with me on Monday and say we need, to double the number of housing vouchers, and by Friday, I'd be like, I got you. We figured it out. No, it can take months, sometimes years, and that's something I expect in my role. But not everybody joining the commission may necessarily expect that. They may say, you know what, I want to make sure we are getting backpacks for children of incarcerated parents, and things like that. Mr. Berry, is that accurate of what you were suggesting?
It is. And if I may, the critical and crucial, I think, role that we can also play is one of coordinating services that are provided by a huge number of returning citizens in this space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by that, we can host like community forums where we can hear from any and everybody who's doing anything around reentry and in the city, and think about ways in which to help to strengthen what they're doing to supplement what the city is doing.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent pool in the returning citizens community is extraordinarily rich, and but it isn't always as coordinated as it could be. And I think that's a role that the commission could help to play in bringing people together and saying, okay, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. I'm talking about organizational, because a lot of people who come back, they start organizations that end up failing, not because of their interest and their viability, but because they don't get support or they don't understand how to make it work. And that's something that I think we could play a critical role in by just making ourselves available to those organizations and individuals, and finding out and determining how we can support what they're trying to do where possible and appropriate. I think that's just one thing that can make, I think, a huge difference in the success of the program. And I think it'll keep people more engaged. I mean, we need to be accessible to the community as a group. A lot of folks on the commission do extraordinary things individually, but I don't know that if you were to go around the town and ask people, what is the Commission on Reentry, who are they? I'm not so sure how many people could really tell you who they are, who we are, what we do, how we do it, what we're supposed to do. And I think that's our responsibility to fill that knowledge gap and to try to multiply the impact of what work is doing by, one, lending our support to them, but also helping them to understand what folks up beyond their reach are saying in terms of needs. But I'll stop now. I'm probably talking too much.
Ms. Calloway, same question to you. How can we improve participation by commission members?
I echo what Mr. Berry said. I think, however, being structurally sound and basically defining those roles, but being clear on what the mission is of the commission, that we can all then be on one accord. So therefore, if people have a certain interest, we can respectfully break out into those subgroups, subcommittees, as in my previous serve on the commission, where we had developed subcommittees, for instance, like housing, women's interests, budget. We had one on dealing with children of incarcerated parents. So therefore, those who may have those strong interests in wanting to achieve certain goals, they can appropriately fall into those subgroups and help us develop whatever recommendations needed to bring to the council. I agree. It's a tough job when you bring a lot of people together who have different thought process and different passions, but that does not mean we cannot all work together. I've seen it done successfully, but in doing so, we have to be clear on what our mission is. We all have to start off on the same page. So therefore, we know what the end goal is. And I agree, we have to basically set realistic goals, number one. So we therefore won't be trying to grasp too many things at one time. That can create a lot of confusion. Thirdly, I agree, we need to be more visible in the community so they will know that we exist and that we can be their voice for them and be able to advocate on their behalf. As Mr. Berry stated, a lot of people perhaps throughout the city don't even know we exist. We had previously, when we served on the commission, talked about having open meetings and inviting the community in. So therefore, they can come in and understand, excuse me, what we do, what we represent, and how we are in an advisory role that we can take their concerns to the commission and to the mayor and through WORCA. So I just think, and I think we did a very good job, would you say, Mr. Berry, when we served previously,
I think so.
setting up that framework to be able to start off as simple as having an agenda when we come to our meeting. Have an agenda so we'll know what we're going to talk about. Hold people accountable and know that, we're expecting you to be there. If you miss 3 meetings, we're going to call you to task. So, I mean, it's just about accountability too. But I think it's something that can be done. I think people are very passionate about this. I know I am, and the panel that are here today. So I think, it's just a matter of just all being on the same page.
I have some thoughts that I'll share with you later around exactly what you're saying. For Mr. Dunn, Mr. Tyree, and Reverend Shepherd, first, are you on board with an advisory role as Mr. Berry and Ms. Calloway described? Is that a role that you're open to and think you could do well? Okay. Do any of you have any professional or personal relationships, past or present, that might cause a conflict with your responsibilities on the commission? All right, or I'll say no for the record. And
No.
No.
no, thank you,
No.
thank you. All right, now let me move to some individualized questions. I'll start with you, Mr. Berry. How many meetings have you attended this year?
I wasn't on the commission this year. My term ended in August 4th, 2023.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay, time flies. What was your attendance like when you were on the commission?
I think I attended most every meeting, and when I wasn't able to attend, I asked for an excused absence.
Okay. Um, is the commission too large right now?
Is that for me?
Yes.
I don't think so. I think that it can and should accommodate as many persons who have the interest, energy, and the ability to make it work. Yeah, that's my view. I think the 15 members are a good number of persons to work together and to divide the responsibility in a way that doesn't make it too burdensome for any small group.
Okay. In your roundtable questionnaire, you mentioned that one of your goals is to encourage more active participation from ex officio members. That's been a goal for some time. How do you plan to get them more involved?
Well, I think what we've been polite in our advocacy with the ex officio members. As you have stated earlier, there were 2 groups of folks who participated regularly. I think that we have to show them something. On the one hand, I mean, we have a responsibility ourselves. That is to show how we can be productive, and we're going somewhere. Provide a direction for them, but also we have to be much more assertive, I think, in pursuing their involvement. So I kind of take a shared responsibility. We've sent them letters and we've invited them to participate in meetings and those kinds of things, but we've not asked to meet with them and done the other kinds of things that might inspire their interest and believe us to be viable as a group.
Okay.
So on the one hand, I understand that, I mean, we're talking about people who head organizations, I mean, who are direct agencies of the government. And of course, they can delegate that responsibility, but
Yep.
they would be more motivated to do that if they saw us as viable and effective. And I'm not saying that, and I'm not, let me be clear, I think we were viable and effective, but I don't know that we've always communicated that to them in the most productive way, or not productive, effective way.
That makes sense to me. So the commission being consistent, appointed members, voting members being consistent, viable, effective, and communicating that to agencies, and pushing them as necessary.
And when you read, I'm sorry, when you read our minutes, and we can't produce a quorum, it doesn't inspire folks to, with those kinds of schedules, to participate.
I agree. I agree.
And the quorum issue has been a real serious one that has limited our effectiveness for time.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Sorry
It's hard
to
to
interrupt
demand that others attend the meeting if the voting members aren't attending consistently. How do you think the reentry landscape has changed in DC since you left CSOSA and the Public Defender Service?
I think there are more people in the space. I think that again, the talent pool is extraordinarily rich. There are a number of organizations that are supportive of returning citizen issues. I think there's been a number of improvements in specific targeted ways, but I think that the threshold issues, like the availability of halfway house space and its proximity in Baltimore. I mean, there's some basic things that we have just not been able to, as a city, been able to overcome. The housing dilemma, the education dilemma, the just family reunification. I mean, and the backdrop to a lot of this also relates to the violence that is taking place in the city, and the perception of folks based on what's kind of going on or has been going on. It's a eclectic mix of complicated issues that aren't easily sorted out, but to the extent that we remain determined to resolve them, I think that we'll begin to see greater progress moving forward.
Okay. Ms. Calloway, when did you stop serving on the commission? If you would turn your, thank you.
Also, August 2023.
Okay.
Mhm.
How was your attendance as a commissioner?
I would say, I would fairly say that I probably attended 85% of the time. And in those absences, I was asked also to be excused.
Okay.
Mhm.
When asked about your goal if reappointed to the commission, you mentioned in what you submitted before the hearing, wanting to join the housing subcommittee to address specific goals. You mentioned some of that as we were talking, and you mentioned some of the steps that you might want to consider. I hope if you are reappointed that you'll work with the subcommittee to work through some of those recommendations. You also founded, as you mentioned in your testimony, and I think I mentioned at the beginning of the hearing, that you founded a nonprofit called Broken Chains.
Yes.
One of Broken Chains Incorporated's goals is to reduce recidivism. What strategies have you found effective in reducing recidivism, and how would you bring those strategies to your role in the commission?
Oh, thank you. One of the strategies, one of the challenges I think that we have faced with a lot of returning citizens when we first encounter them, one is the frustration of not being able to receive services or be connected to those services. And we've tried to be as instrumental as possible to be able to provide direct contact to those vital services and resources and services. The other thing is trying to basically paint a realistic picture for our returning citizens. letting them know that, there's a process that we must work through. And while you may need things instantly, not everything will be able to be provided instantaneously. We try to basically, for instance, the backpacks, we try to provide some resources to them immediately to be able to help them be able to have a sense of dignity about themselves, to be able to care for themselves without having to have the need of going into an office building or into getting in line for certain resources. But I think overall, it's just a matter of staying connected to them, letting them know what the process is, and helping to help them work through any timelines that may be presented and being able to achieve certain resources. For instance, like I know I had a citizen come to me who basically was preparing to get a job at UPS. They were very frustrated because, one, they felt that they had done everything necessary to be able to get that job and hear back from them. It was just a matter of me getting on the phone with them, calling the contact and communicating what it was, that communicating their expectations. And after we were able to do that, they were clear that they had done truly everything that they needed to do, but it was nothing more that they needed to do. They needed to more so wait for the next call. So it's just certain things like that. I think too, in helping them, I think one, support is essential. Helping them, while I realize a lot of them don't have family support, and have those resources, is just being able to, one, be a listening ear, be empathetic, try to help them understand, that, everything is on a time base, and most people, they've served their time, as I've been told. I've served my time, I don't want to have to wait another day. Well, unfortunately, sometimes you have to wait another day. But again, I would try my best to be that listening ear, continue to be their advocate for them, to help connect the dots for them, help to remove that red tape for them, being realistic and letting them understand that everything is a process.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Mr. Dunn, you are currently Vice President of Flint LLC, and as a business owner of Serve and Save LLC, which is a logistics and financial literacy training contractor. Is that right?
Correct.
Based on your pre-hearing responses, both Flint LLC and Serve and Save LLC have contracts with the DC Department of Employment Services and the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Is that right?
Correct.
Can you explain more what you do in those roles?
Okay, so with Flint, we have gotten contracts with DOES to do workforce development. So a lot of the times with that, I provide the financial literacy aspect of workforce development. We have also created programs to help people get CDL license and put them in jobs after getting their learners and so on. As I said in my Serve and Save, one of the things that we've found when teaching people about investing and financial literacy, you can have knowledge, but if you don't have the funds to, you can't do anything, right? So that's where we were able to get grants and seed money from donors to actually give them seed money to make their first investments with, right? Some of the barriers I think we see is when you bring people in and they go through these training programs, workforce development, the frustration comes when they don't get employed after the training because there's an expectation that I did what I was supposed to do and I'm going to be hired immediately after going through these trainings. I find myself often telling them, like she said, about trusting the process, right? Yeah. Just trusting the process. A lot of guys, and I had to say this, that returning citizens believe because they, are doing the right thing, they supposed to, nothing is, they don't help supposed to struggle, and we all know that life is a struggle, right?
Yeah.
We all have our struggles, but I think if we could legislatively, um, some of the barriers pertaining to the workforce development trainings and things, as if we could create some type of incentive for employers to be more willing to hire these people after going through these programs. Um, and like I said, we've been working in the just working extremely hard to try to build relationships with different employers to try to make sure that upon our participants completing these workforce development programs that they'll have employment, right?
Yeah.
So those are the things, like I said, we do at Flint and Serve and Save. Like I say, a lot of the times we may not be active because we don't get the funding that we need, to be able to continue this work.
Let me ask
We
about
also
that.
work in the hotel industry too.
Mhm.
We train people for that as well, not just CDL, so we know hotel restaurant industry, we have relationships with different hotels and restaurants that we're able to push our participants upon their completion into these roles. And we've had a very good success rate with that.
Let me ask you about the financial literacy piece. It's one of the things that you discussed in your pre-hearing questions, wanting to expand financial literacy programs for returning citizens. Are there any specific types of programs or strategies that you have in mind for this goal at this point?
Of course. I mean, like I said, the program that I created, From the Streets to Wall Street, I think that says it all, right? A lot of these individuals who are returning home are guys who are from the streets, right? Um, One of the things that I see or the things that I hear is that, I don't have a 401k, I don't have a pension, I don't have a retirement plan. I was in jail for 20 years, I was in jail for 15 years. And so there's an added pressure, right? They feel like their time is running out, and, like I said, it's this instant gratification mindset that they have, But one of the things that I have to show them is I'm a returning citizen myself. You start small, you start with what you can. But, a lot of them, I have to say, have been like they come home and then they get put into situations, say family situations where because they're the man, there's this expectation that you're home, like he said, with the mothers, immediate expectation that you're going to be some help to the family.
Mm-hmm.
And they feel pressured, they feel pressured to be a provider for their families,
Yeah.
especially if they had a family that was supportive of them when they were incarcerated, right?
Yeah.
So they want to come home and get in there, and then sometimes things just don't materialize the way they expected them to, as far as getting a job and making the type of money. So, like they say, with my financial literacy thing, my program, it's like I hear you and I know it works, but I just don't have the money right now because I'm trying to take care of my kids. A lot of them feel guilty. They weren't there for their kids, and so they trying to make up for lost time. They any extra money that they get, they want to spend it on the kid. And so these are just different barriers, right? So we was trying to, connect them to different programs that were out here, like CAB and things like that, to try to and work with them to try to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Like they had these saving programs where if you save uh, 1,500, they would match it 3 times that, but it would go through towards specific things, right? And I was trying to get them to say, but what about if we can do that and it goes towards their retirement, right? If it can go towards a 401k or a IRA for them, so just trying to get creative and work with different organizations to try to push this agenda, and try to help these individuals overcome these financial barriers that they may have.
I appreciate that. Let me turn to Mr. Tyree. If appointed, you mentioned in your pre-hearing responses that you plan to create an effective mentorship program for returning citizens. Can you say more about your vision for this program?
Yes. Well, the Manhood 360 group that I started while incarcerated, it it was person centered. It was first and foremost dealing with the actual person. You know what I mean? Their ability to want more, to do more. You know, but it was also layered. You know, for instance, we would cater to the youth. However, the youth would have a mentor. The mentors would have a facilitator, and I would oversee the facilitators. So there were a layer of different aspects of it where we can all hold each other accountable. But at the same time, we didn't have to have a conflict. Our only thing was we wanted better, and everybody would live within that making things better, meaning like I would have, let's just say, religious groups, Christian, you can be Muslim, you can be a Blood, you can be a Crip, you can be from this geographical location, you know what I mean? And I wanted all those groups in one arena to first and foremost hold each other accountable. You know, you got to forgive me, person, because I'm kind of simplistic. I don't have a bunch of political corrective words and frameworks to use. I'm just a human being, and that's how I approach situations. You know, it's almost like, why would I make your child become a gangbanger than tell my child to get up and go to school each day? That's a conflict within my human nature. So that has to be addressed. And this is kind of what I promoted to them. It's like, you know, if I give my child to you, or if he come to you, you treat him like he's your child. Other than that, there's no arrangement here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and that leads me to a lot of things that I'm actually hearing now. We have, you know, the conflicts are just basic that we have. You know, we can definitely come together because we all need each other. It's a medium. There's no reason to have a conflict that causes us to disband with this commission. Now, okay, let's say let me go here. What would cause us to be more motivated and stay? What would keep our morale up? I'm kind of hearing that as a commission, as an advisory group. Okay, well, let's talk to Mr. Dunn here first. If I owned a company, what would be the motive behind keeping my employees motivated? You have to, like, this simple stuff. You know, if you ask anybody to come and do anything without the proper resources or the proper ability to do their work, they're going to fall off. That's any environment that something has to be made better. And that could just be in the job site. You know, how do you keep the morale up? You know, what tactics do you use to do that? You know what I mean? So, and that's just basic human concepts. It's nothing magical about it. You know, when I come to work, I want to get paid, you know, to do my job, you know, and I want, you know, I want to be told that I'm doing a good job that way. And I want the job to be not dead end. I want it to be open so I can do one part and progress to another. See, these processes, you know, and it's like when people come home from prison, because I'm not that far removed from that. You know, when you get hungry, I get hungry. No, can't eat steak, but, you know, a good TV dinner would do, but I'm hungry, you know? So we have to think in terms of these different things, even when we're talking about what can somebody do. And in any institution that's attached to an advisory group should just have that concept. Something would do. Now, these groups that I actually was a part of here on his testimony, there's a reason why I joined these groups, because there were many groups. It's many organizations out here that will, lend you a hand or speech, But these particular groups were impactful because I felt the instant gratification. As soon as I joined, it was cut and dry. What we want from you, what we will give you. And each one of these groups honored every word and it was with me along the process. So it catered to my humanity. It made me feel like I want more. It made me hungrier. As I went through all these, I became hungrier and hungrier to do more. And that has, we can get into some other things later, but a lot of these different stuff that we're talking about should actually be talked about more with the BOP and the Department of Corrections, because a lot of us need to come out running. That has to be understood. We have to come out running. And so in order to do that, we have to be in there running. It's hard to come out here and just, especially because a lot of us have done a lot of time. I've done 20 years and people are just not around anymore. And you have to put your reality into play. You can't look left, you can't look right, all you can look is forward. You know what I mean? So sometimes even when Chairman, we have to ask you all, like, what does doing our time mean to you? Maybe not you personally, but what does paying my debt to society means to the establishment of my city? When I pay my debt, what does that mean? Who actually defined that? No one seems to want to define that. I'm paying a debt. So when the person comes to you and says, I've done everything I can do, this is what he's saying. He's saying, I paid my debt. Get
So
me.
let me, you don't have to convince me or probably anybody in this room.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that's the passion you bring it to the commission. Because we got to take the frustration and the things that are broken, and then we got to work together to come up with solutions and go out into the world with those solutions together.
Well, I want to finish because I just wanted to make a point, of course, because my thing was always self-reliance. This is why I came up with the program. This is why I wrote a book, because I can't sit there and say, BOP, I need some things. I need some things satisfied. So what I do is I take self-reliance on it. If I see the community need book bags, I'll come and ask for book bags. If you don't have book bags, the first thing I'm going to do is be simplistic. I'm going to check my bank account. How many book bags can I buy realistically for myself and pass them out? That's what I know. I don't know to sit and wait for the answers. Why? Because people are literally hurting. Along with people hurting, like I said, when you get hungry, I get hungry. People are hurting. People are dying by the minute, by the seconds in most cases. I lost my family under violent circumstances. So some of us in our mind, we feel like we're in a state of urgency and we really don't have time to really ask and keep asking and asking. We have to do and do and do, so that's my perspective. But
I'm gonna have to wrap you up because I got some more nominees after
Yes.
this. I appreciate it, but I do hear you loud and clear. Reverend Shepherd, in your questionnaire, you and in your testimony, you mentioned that one of your goals is to focus on helping families of incarcerated residents and returning citizens and to reduce barriers to housing. Are there any places we could look at as examples to improve our system here in DC?
One of the things that I hear a lot, especially from families, is that by the time someone who's incarcerated gets home, what they thought the ideas or the programs they thought that it was going to be available to them aren't. So like there's I won't say misinformation, but lack of information. Right? It's building a network. It's being there to say, okay. One of the things I heard is that there are a plethora of programs working with returning citizens. But oftentimes, like for instance, there's a church, we have a food pantry, right? And there's a church that's approximately 3 blocks away that I just discovered has a food pantry. And they serve on the same day. The only reason I discovered, because somebody said when they, oh, I'm going over to so-and-so, since you guys don't have this, we're going over there to get it. And I'm like, going over where? So I walked with them, only to discover that right here in my community, blocks away, there's something happening that we could collaborate on instead of doing separately.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, how do we collaborate? How do we get the word to each other that instead of reinventing the wheel, how do we support each other? How do we make sure that families have, we can do it regional, we can do it community-wise, that there's a space to come to get information. That this is I call my church when I'm trying to build a community hub. This is the place you come to find out about A, B, C, D on forward. But it's how do we bring that together? Because too often, well, I heard this. Well, that ain't true. I want to check it out. It doesn't work. Like, how do we get that synergy where the information is straight across the board?
I like that. I do think we go further if we are coordinated, and I think you said that as well, Ms. Calloway. You spoke in your testimony about your own journey of reentry after decisions that led you to incarceration. How has that experience shaped your views on barriers returning citizens face?
12 years, 3 months, 26 days. Coming out would save me a lot. I had family. But I watched my peers and my friends who came out and were like fish out of water trying to figure out how to even walk. I tell a story of a friend who came out after doing 25 years and attended a program. After the program, for lunch, every day they were let go for lunch. And he sat on a picnic table bench outside and could not figure out what to do for lunch. All right, and until he realized, he said, I like sandwiches. Oh yeah, so he ate a sandwich every day for lunch for 3 weeks until somebody else invited him to go get pizza. Why? Because lunch was always provided for him for the last 25 years. To think of having to make decisions that you haven't had to make. For me, there were the barriers I dealt with more so within myself, not having the knowledge. Coming out and receiving, I came out and got a debit card that said Visa on it. And I wanted to know, since when do they give out credit cards just like that? Someone had to teach me it's not a credit card. No money in, no money out. But simple things. Life doesn't stop. Everything goes on, and you're coming out to a world where, I like what brother said, you come out, world didn't stop. You show up, and now all of a sudden they drop you here and say, okay, go ahead, live. How? With what? With what understanding? Something that was said earlier that sticks with me, pre-release. It has to start before you hit the street. It has to start while you're still inside. We have to start making sure that how everything that's needed is already being prepared before you hit the street. That includes the greatest piece, your mind. If we're not dealing with our mental health, if we're not dealing with ensuring that you understand that when you hit the street, that nobody owes you nothing, that nothing is laid out there waiting for you, that when you come out, you're going to have to work for it, but you can get it because we're examples of being able to survive. I went to Princeton, didn't expect them to accept me. I chose that school because I expect them to say no. And then they said yes, and I tried to turn the place upside down. All right, why? Because I recognize it's not where I've been, it's where I am right now. And the things that have been taught to me, the life that I have lived, the examples that I've watched and seen, says that if I can do it, anybody else coming out can do it. And I'm big on being that example.
I appreciate it. And if you all can help us move this pre-release forward, I would be so grateful. We've passed laws, we've done oversight hearings. It's been a tough hill to climb, but it is, I think, the most important thing that we're not doing. So be happy to talk with you all further about the hurdles, but we got to collectively figure this out because I've been frustrated. I think a lot of people are hurting unnecessarily. You spend a lot of years making plans, dreams. Nobody's in there saying, "Oh, I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna just like do nothing." Like people are making real plans, and you come out. Reality is different. There are hurdles, there are barriers like everybody else faces, and then unique barriers on top of that. And so the more we can do pre-release, the more of a head start folks are going to have. But I want to thank you all very much for stepping up to this challenge, and I look forward to working with you all as you step into this role. Obviously, the committee has to move these nominations forward, and the council has to vote on them. But as I said earlier, this is a very impressive slate of nominees. So I appreciate your willingness to serve and for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to bring up our final nominee for today. All right, Mr. Johannes Fuller. Welcome back. So we ask that you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to provide to the Committee on Housing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you so much. You can begin your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman White. It is an honor to be here today as a nominee for the Board of Directors of the District of Columbia Housing Finance Agency. My name is Johannes Fuller, and I would first like to express my gratitude to Mayor Muriel Bowser for nominating me. And I appreciate the opportunity to present my qualifications and vision for serving the District of Columbia. I bring a unique blend of experience in real estate development, finance, government operations, and public-private partnerships, which I believe positions me well to understand stakeholder perspectives from various angles. This background has given me the ability to approach challenges with a balanced view, considering the needs of developers, financiers, government entities, and most importantly, the communities in which we serve. I am committed to using these experiences to foster positive outcomes for all involved, and I am excited about the opportunity to contribute to the important mission of the DC Housing Finance Agency in expanding affordable housing in the District of Columbia. In my current role as managing principal of Adinkra Solutions Incorporated, I advise clients on real estate and finance strategies, applying my expertise to address complex challenges related to affordable housing and community development. Prior to this, I served as the Chief Operating Officer at DC Department of General Services, where I had day-to-day management and oversight of the agency's 5 major divisions, including capital construction, portfolio and facilities management, and the energy and sustainability division. In this role, I frequently interface with members of DC Council and constituents. I led the implementation of new policies and procedures that improved operational efficiencies, increased the use of data-driven decision-making, and strengthened the agency's ability to deliver on critical projects. The experience of managing the district's 40 million square foot real estate portfolio gave me a deep understanding of how public resources can be leveraged to benefit our communities. I am proud to share that I've committed a significant portion of my professional career serving the residents of the District of Columbia. My work with City Community Capital as Vice President provided me with valuable insights into the financial structures that support affordable housing development. At City, I helped underwrite high-profile residential and retail development deals in the DC Metro and Greater Baltimore footprint. This experience deepened my understanding of how to structure financing to ensure long-term viability and sustainability for transformative projects, which I believe will be critical as we look for innovative ways to address housing affordability challenges in the district. I also recognize the importance of serving the community and consumer interests, a responsibility that I take very seriously. In addition to my work in public and private sectors, I have served on the boards of nonprofit organizations and charter schools with a specific focus in meeting the needs of our communities. For example, my service on the board of Paul Public Charter School provided me with firsthand experience in ensuring that community needs are reflected in decision-making processes. I have always sought to ensure that the voices of those most impacted by policy decisions are heard and considered. As a representative of community and consumer interests on the DCHFA board, my goal is to work collaboratively with the dedicated leadership and staff at DCHFA to address the housing affordability challenges that our city faces. I believe that my experience as a lender, developer, and government executive uniquely positions me to help DCHFA navigate the complexities of affordable housing finance and development. I envision working closely with fellow board members and stakeholders to expand the availability of affordable housing units while also ensuring that projects are sustainable, equitable, and responsive to the needs of the community. In conclusion, I'm excited about the opportunity to contribute my experience and skills to the important work of DCHFA. I look forward to helping the agency continue to deliver affordable housing solutions for the residents of the District of Columbia. Thank you for considering my nomination, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks so much. Say it one more time for me. Adinkra?
Adinkra.
Adinkra, thank you.
Yes, no
Thank you.
worries, no worries.
Will your work at Adinkra Solutions or any other professional or personal relationships pose a conflict regarding any matters or projects that come before the board?
No, sir, it will not.
If that changes, how will you handle that?
So I make it a point to engage any ethics-related organizations, so BEGA or any ethics attorneys. So if that is a potential conflict of interest that arise, I will make sure to alert the board, the DCHFA leadership, and any other agencies dealing with ethics and government accountability.
Okay. Obviously, I know you most recently from your work at DGS when I oversaw the agency, and I appreciate your work in partnership there. I found you very professional, easy to work with, knowledgeable, and I appreciate that. How will your experience working for the district government at DGS, DOEE, and DMPED, among other agencies, be useful on the board at DCHFA?
Yes, thank you for that question. So as I had mentioned in my testimony, in order to bring affordable housing to the District of Columbia, you need to understand the ecosystem. There are a number of silos that I think create challenges for communication. So being able to understand the processes, understanding the relationships to get things done, particularly on the government side, because I have over 12 years of experience in DC government, I think that I am able to articulate how best to navigate government operations to get things done.
Okay. What are the biggest gaps you see at DCHFA right now?
I'm not educated enough on the current operations. In preparation for this hearing, I did my best to get learned. My intent really is to go in there and learn and listen. I think one of the most important things that you need to do, particularly as a new board member, is to shut up and listen, quite frankly, to make sure you understand those processes. And if you do identify that there are some gaps, to see how you can bring your skill set to help fill those gaps. So to answer your question, I'm not aware of any as of now. I do know that the Housing Finance Agency, particularly the leadership and the staff, have an excellent reputation, and I look forward to contributing to that.
What steps would you take to make sure DCHFA's programs are accessible and understandable to all DC residents?
Well, think about that. Yeah, I really do pride myself on investing in fostering relationships. So as I learn of programs that I think are going to be beneficial to the residents of the District of Columbia, I will utilize my network to make sure that those are amplified.
And so you would be on the board, a representative of the community or consumer interests. How would you engage with community members and stakeholders to make sure their voices and issues are heard in the board?
So I know that the Housing Finance Agency does have a very robust outward-facing platform. I would continue to leverage that. Obviously, social media is a means in which to make sure that our programs and initiatives are also amplified. But I think another factor is to, again, during my tenure on the board, understand what are the mediums that we can use to make sure that we can get the word out there.
And you've worked with complex models or different ways to finance projects while at city community capital. Is that right?
That's correct.
Can you discuss how HFA might use creative financing ideas to support affordable housing projects?
So what I think HFA has already done a good job of, and I would hope to lend my skill set, is to engage the private sector and the financial community. HFA, I think we understand the challenges of affordable housing, particularly financing affordable housing projects in this environment now. So it does require, in my opinion, HFA's engagement of lenders, educating them on our processes, letting them understand the complexities of some of these affordable housing projects and the perspectives in which we need lenders to take and have in order to bring projects to completion. So I look at that as an opportunity, leveraging my skill set to be able to be another voice, if you will, to engage the lending community, for them to understand what needs to be done in order to achieve these affordable housing projects to completion.
And what's one goal that you have for your tenure on the board at this point?
I would say I want to ensure that there's continuity. I know what often happens with changes in leadership, sometimes changing in board representation, is that projects can sometimes get stagnated. I fancy myself a quick read, so I will do my best to get educated as quickly and as efficiently as I can to make sure that projects that are going to be transformative, projects that are going to be impactful, aren't delayed because I'm trying to get up to speed. So, coming out of the gates, I think it is making sure that projects do continue to move forward because, we really do need to provide the affordable housing stock very much in the District of Columbia.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate your answers to our questions and your testimony and significant background information submitted before the hearing. Is there anything else that hasn't come up in your testimony or my questions that you think is important for the record?
No, not at this time.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again for putting yourself forward for this nomination. Our boards and commissions are vitally important. This is a particularly important and impactful one. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Council Member.
I want to thank everyone for their participation today. As we close, I want to mention that if anyone is interested in keeping up with this committee's work and finding ways to get involved, please sign up at robertwhiteatlarge.com so we can be in touch with updates and opportunities. The record for this hearing will be held open until the close of business on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. Anyone who is interested in submitting written testimony for the official record can do so through the council's hearing management system at lims.dc.gov/hearings. That's LIM as in Michael S.dccouncil.gov/hearings. The business before this committee is finished for today. The time is 2:01 p.m. and this roundtable is adjourned.